Welcome back to Season 15 of the Gridiron. This year we're sponsored by Patriot Chevrolet. I'm your host, John Brennan, with the head coach, Chad Brubaker. Coach, feels like we were just here. It was November. We were talking about the season, and now we have a new season upon us here. Great to see you. How was the summertime?
Great. How was your summer?
Fantastic.
All
Excited
you did
to be
was
back
golf.
here. We've got some golfing, getting ready for the golf season here with the girls. So like I said, we were just here. Quite an off season for you guys. We had a lot of, hoopla in the springtime going around with Matt Zollers. And I know this is, like to hear you talk about it a little bit, because it's your second time going through this. When you're at Wilson, you were the offensive coordinator. You had Chad Henne, who eventually went up to Michigan. Talk about those two experiences, you know, when you were at Wilson versus this one, and maybe things that were similar and something that was different about it too.
Well, similar in how Chad and Matt both handled the situation, in terms of, like, it's very easy if we were 17, 18-year-old kids to start to think that the world revolved around us. And I know Matt is not like that. He's the same kid he was a year ago. Same with Chad. Chad handled it tremendously, even though some things went awry with Chad's at the end, because everybody thought, I don't know if you know that story, but everybody thought that he was going to commit to Penn State. Penn State thought he was committing to Penn State. He pulls out the Michigan hat, and all heck broke loose.
Broke loose, yeah.
But and that was before social media, so it would have been way worse. But like,
and I'm sure also a little bit this time, I'm sure there's people that were within the state of Pennsylvania thought Matt would have been a Penn State guy too. Yeah,
I mean, that was all that speculation on social media or whatever. Yeah. But ultimately, having went through that with, I was not the head coach, but I was, obviously on the staff, and that's the last thing we wanted to happen. So I just asked Matt the whole time and his parents, like, hey, let's keep conversations going here. Matt had talked about committing even earlier. And again, with that experience, I said to him, hey, maybe the last thing you want to do is switch your decision. So let's take another round here, go around to all the different schools. And we came up with I presented different scenarios to him. What if this school reaches out? What if that school reaches out? You're still set, yes. What if this school reaches out? You're still set. So we had a lot of those conversations, and he was right, but he took a little more time to
get there.
He was right in what he thought was his decision, and it didn't change, even though all the schools that we talked about did reach out. So
gotcha.
I'm proud of the way he handled it and how his family, also handled it. And it was kind of I was telling them, I think this is going to happen earlier. It didn't really hit until mid to late season, and then the off season it really got
going. Yeah.
Got going. But other than that, it went as good as can be expected.
Yeah, that's good. You talk about the maturity of young kids, in both situations here. Now, with that being said, you do have a 5-star quarterback here, and this team is, you would say, in the journalism business, this team has expectations on it, you would say, for this year. So how are you handling that? How's your staff handling, and what are you conveying to the kids about what expectations of this team might be? I
actually used the word expectations for the first time the other day after practice, and my message basically was, so what? The polls, like the preseason polls that, are all out all over social media are out there in newspapers or whatever, really don't mean a lot. Like, they're based on very little information.
What it looks like you have.
Like, even in college, those polls, we know who's coming back, but we don't, in college, we don't know how this transfer is going to fit into this culture, or maybe he's going to destroy, all those things are, so they know, the surface level things, and that's the same, and it's even more watered down in high school. They know the surface level things. So we always set expectations. Like, my point to them was, our expectations are higher than anybody else's. And if you don't feel pressure to achieve, then that means nobody expects anything of you.
Yeah.
And you don't expect much of yourself. So we like to set our own expectations and establish our own pressure to perform well. And, that's, in my opinion, all we need.
And I feel like with that being said and what you're talking about here, I feel like there could be like a target on Spring Ford a little bit this year. Like, hey, this is our opportunity here. Like, it's almost like a scenario where you're going to get everybody's best ever effort, game plan, whatever you want to call it. You're going to get it week after week after week.
I feel we always get that.
Okay.
I've always felt that we've gotten that. We've always gotten people's best games. There's, as the biggest school in the area, a lot of times that kind of thing happens. And, I was used to that. Like, this is my 15th year at Springford, but when I was at Wilson, we got everybody's best game. And I'll tell you what is the tough part about that. The tough part about that, like, for instance, last year, and this used to happen all the time, and it's happened with us at Springford, we get everybody's best game, but we also get everybody's best game plan. And so for instance, when we played North Penn last year, North Penn had kind of a down year, but was a very good football team, and for them, a down year. And they played an even front the whole season. Well, we get them, they come out, and they're an odd front, and we hadn't prepared for it. And that kind of thing happens all the time when you're going to get people's best game and best game plan. So, I don't know. Souderton has shown an odd front in the past, but they've been pretty much an even front. And, we'll see.
We talked about it a little bit on towards the end of last year with the schedule here. But before we start talking about a couple of the kids here, we talked about this 4-game start for you guys is brutal. It's going to be tough here. And right out the gate, week 1, Souderton, District 1, proven team. Like, they're a big school like
10-1 last year.
Yeah, 10-1. They're a proven school. Like, so obviously this out the gate is, say one game at a time, but people at home and us, we're looking at the schedule like, wow.
And then Easton is the second all-time winningest school in Pennsylvania. Who's number 1?
And you, Central Bucks West?
Mount Carmel.
Okay, see, well, that shows how much I know about high school football. And then you got both the Downingtowns. So once again, you got a lot ahead of you guys.
Well, the Downingtowns was put upon us
with the Chesmont Pack thing.
And do we want to get into that at all?
No, we talked about it last year. I just want you to talk about, like, once again, we're talking about expectations looking this year. Like, wow, look at this. Look what we got here in front of us here.
Yeah. Most times what we try to do is we try to get a little balance to the schedule. And Governor Mifflin had dropped us. We played Father Judge down at the beach. And then we said we're only doing it 1 year. Yeah. So, when you are down to where, unless you have established non-league rivalries, you're out there searching for games. So, we had to drop Cumberland Valley and Manheim Township because of the agreement with the Chesmont.
Yep.
And that didn't get any easier. And we had already thought, Souderton and Easton were tough opponents, but we had to take those games. So we had games.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's interesting when you're trying to schedule games, the blue bloods are always out there. But again, there's a balance. Like, you don't want to go into league play 0-4 or 1-3. So there's a balance there. It's why, who's Penn State opening up with?
Kent
State.
Yeah.
It's why Oklahoma's opening up with Temple. You want to get a game under your belt, and those teams have very difficult league schedules, and they want to, get out and see what their kids do in a game situation. You know it. Practice is one thing. Games are different things.
You could argue this game with you and Souderton this week could be the best game in District 1 on the schedule this week here too. You know what I mean?
In terms of last year's records, it probably is.
Yeah. All right, so we talked about Zollers. He's obviously back. Talk about some of the other guys back that you're going to see, and maybe a couple guys we didn't hear over the loudspeaker last year that you think can be a big contributor for this year too.
Are we starting on offense?
Whatever. Yeah, you're rocking the show here.
On offense, the guys that are back are Jordan Marsilio at wide receiver, Ryan Kirchner at tight end, A.J. Moyer at left tackle, Jaden McLeod at right guard, and Jamal Lewis at tailback. Yep. So those are the guys back on offense. So the other guys that are right now looking that they're going to start on Friday, Ashton Pugh's the right tackle. Huge dude, very strong, very raw. Hadn't played football until 10th grade, really. And he's an 11th grader. He's far beyond where I thought he'd be at this point. But he's not there yet. And he wants to be good, and he's going to be good. But he has a long way to go in terms of learning technique and learning about football. At right guard, I already said Jaden. At center, Dylan Callahan.
Center, yeah.
Dylan Callahan has put in time. He really worked hard in the offseason. And he'd be the first to tell you, I talked to him in his junior year, like, buddy, you're not progressing like we need you to. And he, to his credit, he locked in
got after it.
And then left guard, Lynn Bellard is a sophomore and Patty Burke is a senior. And they're still battling it out. So even on Friday, you're going to see probably both of those guys.
Now, I've only heard one wide receiver out there. We obviously graduated Mason and Bilal last year. We obviously need some new receivers out there.
So Blake Turner's going to be one. He's playing defense, so he'll need to be spelled periodically. Chase Blanken is another, but he's going to be hurt. He's out for a few weeks now. So we're really down to like some sophomores and a freshman, Jackson Wickersham, Rowan Harmon, that are going to have to, be thrown in the fire.
Yeah.
Also, Declan Finney's the second tight end, and he'll work in some too at wide receiver because he knows it all. And then the other person to keep an eye on, in my mind, is Braden Hinkle. Braden Hinkle's a tailback for us. Mason Scott is fast, very fast. Braden Hinkle ran over a 0.1 faster electronic 40 time than him. So but again, he's very raw.
Just learning.
He's learning our system, learning our, offense, and he's a little raw. But when he figures it out, it's going to be good.
Okay. And defense now? You got some guys back on defense?
Yeah.
Especially your secondary.
The secondary's all back. So Anthony Early and Blake Turner back at safety. And Shane Lewis and Zach Stead are back at corner. We have two linebackers back, Nick Garzarella and Braden Welsh. The other linebacker is going to be, I almost said Zach, Jacob McDowell. All right. Jacob missed our scrimmage. We had 8 guys out in our scrimmage. That's why, all coaches hate game one. We hate game one even more when 8 starters were out in the scrimmage.
Missing for the scrimmage.
But Jacob McDowell has done a really nice job. On the defensive line, Giassi Ramu and Bryce Roberts are returning.
Okay.
AJ Moyer's going to get time on that side of the ball. Angelo Lopez. Victor Vanderzil, who's a sophomore defensive end, is going to get time. And we'll go from there. But it's going to be interesting early. We do have a lot of guys back. At the same time, we lost some guys through the transfer portal in the summer and that kind of thing, spring and summer.
It looks like you got like this combination of guys that are back with some experience, and then you just have the opposite end of the spectrum. Like here you are, like it doesn't seem like you have a lot of guys that got some spot time hit, got a little bit of light there. It seems like you're at the end of the spectrum a little bit. Yeah,
that's true. In terms of either they played or started last year, or, man, they're brand new. Yes, that's fair.
All right, Coach. Well, good stuff right there. Great segment. Way to rock and roll start here. Let's come back here and let's talk about this Souderton game, all right?
We'll be good.
Make sure you stay tuned through the commercial break, and we'll preview the game with Souderton.
Welcome to the Rothman Orthopedics Urgent Care and Walk-In Centers. When dealing with pain or injury, our Urgent Care and Walk-In Centers are the ideal place to start your care for all of your orthopedic issues. Our team of physician assistants are available to treat patients 8 years of age and older for a variety of orthopedic issues, including sprains, strains, tears, back pain, fractures, and weekend warrior injuries. No appointment is necessary. Don't wait. Start the path to recovery at the Rothman Orthopedics Walk-In Center or Urgent Care.
Welcome back to the Gridiron, sponsored by Patriot Chevrolet. I'm your host, John Brown, with the head coach, Chad Brubaker. All right, Coach, second segment here. We usually got announcements here. Now, nothing going on in Coach McNally Stadium. You guys are on the road for the first 2 weeks of the year. But then what do we got going on once, I think it's September 6th, first home game?
Yeah.
Oh, be tough competition. The Eagles kick off that night too. I wonder what people are gonna watch that.
Yeah, that annoys me.
The Eagles that they're playing. Did the Eagles not realize it was high school
Brazil,
kickoff night?
right.
All right. So what do you got going on here as we open the season at home once we get to September?
So we open up our home openers against Downingtown East, and Stacy Bogus, who's our Avidum Club director or advisor, hooked up with Downingtown East's advisor, and they're going to do Avidum night. So there's going to be shirts for sale. They're in, I think the two colors for Avidum are black and gold.
We should have did some black
So
and gold.
Downingtown East is in gold,
Get in the air,
and our students or teachers are in black.
Okay.
So one thing we're doing that's special, and hopefully the teachers get the word out. There's going to be we're trying to do a teacher section, cheering section, right next to the student section. So we can see who's louder, who's better, who's whatever, and maybe the teachers can even teach them a thing or two about old school cheering during the game.
A lot of competition now, though, on September 6th. So
right.
for the adults to say,
Yeah.
high school football, Eagles, it's a tough one for some.
Here's the thing.
DVR still exists
Exactly.
in pro.
That's
you can DVR that.
you stole
and
my
you just
thoughts.
stay off the internet then, so you don't know what happens.
Correct.
So you got that going on. I'm sure you have things throughout the year. As we'll go through the season. I know you do youth night, parent night, and all those things. We'll talk about that, but make sure we get the word out on that one there. I'm sure we'll see that on some social media.
Yes, we will.
On both ends there. All right, so before we talk about the Saturday game, you did have a scrimmage under your belts, as you would say here. You guys went to Ruston, who's a 5A powerhouse in the district. I think they were like a semifinalist last year. They've been to the District 5A final, so they know what they're doing right there. Talk a little bit about how the scrimmage went. And you said you were missing some guys a little bit.
Yeah, we were down 8 starters, 7 for injury, 1 for another reason. But we have scrimmaged Ruston probably 10 plus
It's
years
been a long
or
time,
more now, and it's a good scrimmage for us. They're tough kids at Ruston, and Mike does a great job. Mike Sinclair does a great job with their kids. Real proud program. So we went down there again. We had some guys in different spots, or guys that, it's the nice thing about it is it lets you see what other guys are going to do in those situations when you're down those kids. But on the other hand, and I never get too worked up about a scrimmage. You're 0-0 no matter what. You want to perform well, but you understand there's going to be mistakes that kids make. But overall, like, we had some good plays. Like, one of the things that we're really striving for is offensive and defensive efficiency this year. It's kind of our internal goal. And what that means for us is, like, last year there were times where first down, nothing, second down, 1, third down, throw it as far as you can to Mason Scott. And that's not, you can't make a living on that. Like,
right.
you have to be
small successes, but in the long run,
we have
it's
to
not
be
gonna work out.
consistent.
Yep.
So that's what the efficiency model or the formula that we came up is largely about, is being efficient, getting 3+ yards on first down, getting 3+ yards on second down, and being in a manageable third down. And then the same defensively.
Things you hear on TV all the time. Like, you're really maybe more of an emphasis this year than in the past.
Yeah, and third down, or for the defense, it's about limiting, less than 4 yards on first down, less than 4 yards on second down, and getting them in third down situations and getting off the field. And obviously, that's an issue that we had last year in our 2 of our last losses we didn't stop the run. And, those are games that are winnable games, and we just didn't stop the run. And we've really tried to hammer down a mentality of, like, we're going to get in the box, we're going to stop the run, and we're going to tackle. We're not going to we're not going to miss tackles. And so far our kids have responded to that. We had a pretty good scrimmage overall. The usual mistakes, but overall it was a pretty good scrimmage.
All right, and we have a couple highlights from the scrimmage here. Let's watch them now. All right, Coach, so like you said here, some good things you saw in the highlights there, some things to be optimistic about here. But now you're, like you said here, kids haven't been to school. I'm going to guess Souderton hasn't been in school, so we've been focused on nothing but football here for now 3 weeks, and it gets to go live here Friday night for you guys.
Yeah, it's exciting. Game ones are extremely nerve-wracking, especially when you only have one scrimmage. But we've been practicing all summer for this, and you hope that I know that we have everything in terms of game plans on both sides of the ball and special teams. Now it's a matter of like the kids that you think you put in these spots because you think they can do it have to do it.
Go out and do it.
So, that's the biggest thing from week 1 to week 2 is like, all right, we thought this kid could do it. He didn't do it. And then we got to find somebody that can do it. So that's the tough part about game 1. And of course, special teams in game 1 are the scariest thing because
you really don't do it.
You practice, but you're never practicing it really live, and their pressure is there that during the summer there's no pressure.
Yeah, nobody's coming after your punt block, like nobody's. Correct. Yeah. So one good thing I've kind of heard, from the scrimmage to this is that Souderton and Ruston have similar type offenses, so at least you get the unique look of what Souderton does through Ruston.
Yeah, sure. And we went into the scrimmage thinking, do we want to be more vanilla or do we want to show them what essentially our game plan is? And we kind of did a mixture of both, but at the end of the day, they are very similar. They have wing tee concepts. I would say Ruston's a little more true wing tee than Souderton. Souderton mixes some other things into it, but they're very good at it. They are well coached. Eddie Gallagher's been there for a long time and has had most of his main guys have been on the staff. So they were 10-1 last year.
Pretty good.
And they're pretty good. So.
All right, let's take a look of Souderton on offense here.
So they had a tri-scrimmage between Becca High and Parkland. This is against Parkland.
Here they are throwing the ball.
Yeah, they do. They throw the ball very well, actually. So you see, they do some wing tee stuff, but here they are just coming in motion. They're going to roll out here and complete a pass right there in
the flat, yeah.
Yeah. So here's more wing tee style stuff. All right, this is just belly down, and they have a really good fullback. We really like their fullback. He's a tough kid to tackle, and there they are passing again. What's going on?
Right, because you're so prepared for the run, and
that's the thing. Like the wing tee essentially is a misdirection style offense that kind of can lull you to sleep, and then all of a sudden, boom, they're hitting a big play.
Yeah, and like you said, they can hit you with that fullback, and it's right up the gut, that sort of thing. And like you said, they saw the film from last year, that like things you've talked about as well too. So,
yeah. All
right, what are you going to see from defensively?
Well, like I said, they're going to be in a 4-3. All right, but we have seen them in a 3-4. And for people at home, that makes a huge difference in terms of blocking assignments and whatnot. So, basically a 4-3 team, but they play quarters in the secondary, but they can change it up, and we'll have to be prepared. That's on Dylan Callahan to call out the fronts for our offensive line and make sure everybody's on the same page.
All right, let's take a look at Souderton on defense.
All right, so here they are in their 4-3. Their front four are not extremely big, but they're aggressive and they come off the ball. They're quick.
Gang tackling right there.
This is against Bethlehem Catholic. Right there, get an interception. Now, it's a poor throw, but,
guys where it needs to be.
Yeah, that's exactly it. They like to really keep as many guys in the box as they can and take away the run game as much as possible. So, that's one of the things that's going to be interesting. The chess match early in this game was if we spread them out, are they going to keep guys in the box or are they going to go cover?
Yeah.
And if you want to call me ahead of time and let me know, that would be helpful, but I doubt he will.
I doubt they're going to let you know. All right, Coach. Well, sounds like it's going to be an exciting matchup for you guys Friday night. I'd make the trip, but we got a match on Friday, so I won't be able to make it out. I'll follow on the social media somewhere I'll be able to find. I'm going to guess some reporter will be at the game giving me some updates. Yeah,
there'll be updates, and oftentimes if you go on Max Preps, it's updated at live or close to live. And,
All right. Well, best of luck to you and the crew.
Appreciate
And
it.
good
Just
luck
watch
for
a big ticket afterwards.
and excited for this 2024 campaign for you guys here.
Appreciate it. We're excited as well.
All right. Make sure you tune in next week as we recap the game with Stoughton and preview the game with Easton. For the head coach, I'm John Brennan. For the head coach, Chad Brubaker, I'm John Brennan. See you next time on the Gridiron.